Hello and welcome to my presentation. My name is Megan Belcher and I will be analyzing feminist standpoint theory. Feminist standpoint theory offers a framework for understanding women's positions relative to systems of power. The main goal of feminist standpoint theory is to help understand the power differences between groups of people so that more equality can be reached across the board for everyone. Nancy Hartsock is one of the researchers attributed with establishing feminist standpoint theory when she developed her novel Money, Sex, and Power. She drew inspiration from Marxism, which evaluated the power of the ruling class and the power it had over lower class workers. She drew the comparison between men and women in that women were typically expected to care for domestic and emotional labors that men were not. Nancy has stated many times that she never really intended to become a feminist theorist. She began her career as a political theorist, but as she began that, she saw that it was impossible for her to separate her female experience from the types of theories she was developing and researching. So this led her to pursue more female-centered research to determine why that was, and that's when feminist standpoint theory came about. Feminist standpoint theory uses a critical approach to knowing, and this is because the research is established doing mostly evaluations of text analysis in the field. Feminist standpoint theory has several strengths and weaknesses when doing your theory evaluation. Feminist standpoint theory has a weakness with logical consistency because it is dependent on individual viewpoints, so logic only applies if you have a similar perspective. It also struggles with scope, as the scope is quite narrow since it only explores the perspectives of women. Testability is difficult because, again, it is dependent on the perspective of the person involved. And it also struggles with the test of time because the theory was only developed in the 1980s, so it really hasn't had enough time to prove its staying power. Even with those weaknesses, it does have many strengths. First, it excels with parsimony, as it is very simple to explain. It excels with utility as well, since it is practical, and it improves communications across differing genders because it provides greater understanding amongst the genders. It also does well with heurism, as there is a huge amount of new thinking about female perspectives that went into developing this new theory. Feminist standpoint theory has provided a framework for tons of future feminist research. One of the studies that was developed explored maternity leave and the effect it had with female employees. Another study determined the impact of over-sexualized female images toward women as they age and the impact that had on both their mental, physical, and emotional health. Both of these studies built upon the framework of feminist standpoint theory and used the tools that Nancy had created to explore different aspects of womanhood across different demographic groups to try to expand that. One of the main problems with feminist theory as a whole is that it suffers from what the modern sort of slang term is white feminism. This is because most feminist research focuses on the needs of white cisgendered women. It typically doesn't include the views of minority women in minority race communities, as well as LGBTQ communities and women in lower income communities. Feminist standpoint theory and feminist theories in general across the board need to be expanded to ensure that the needs and opinions of minority communities are heard, not just a white cisgendered perspective. Feminist standpoint theory explores how women see the world differently from men. Nancy Hartsock's development of feminist standpoint theory created the framework for many new explorations of feminism into the 21st century and beyond. Feminist standpoint theory can be improved by being more inclusive of all types of womanhood to ensure the needs of all are addressed. And feminist standpoint theory helps those of other genders understand the female experience and understand how female experiences with society affect their perspectives.